Hi there guys, it's Rick here and welcome to the second part of Rick's Q&A sessions. Hope you enjoyed the first one. Let's move on to the second part. Had some really good questions this time round. If you have put questions on my Facebook fan page before, make sure you copy and paste it and just stick it in the comment section, because the more you keep doing that, the more chance you'll have of me answering your questions. So this is an ongoing series. I'm going to keep doing it, so chances are your question will be answered at some point. I'll try my best. Okay, what shall we start with? Let's have a look. Okay, we'll start with this. It's a nice and simple one, and it's from Jeremy Boucher. Jeremy Boucher. Tu es français, Jérémy, ou pas? Parce que j'ai habité à Limoux, c'est dans le sud de France, il y a 4 ans à peu près, et je n'ai pas parlé français depuis au moins 3 ans, 4 ans. Moi, j'aime beaucoup la langue. Ça suffit. Je pense que ça suffit. Okay, I'll shut up now. Do you have any favorite brand of strings? That's from Jeremy Boucher. No. I'm going to expand upon that. But no, I don't have any favorite brand of strings. Literally, I have, I don't know if you can see it, there's a drawer at the bottom here. I'm not going to move the camera, but there's a drawer at the bottom here that's just full of odd strings, and I am terrible. I will change my strings once every kind of, I don't know, I'll change them once every decade if I could, because I'm that lazy. But literally I will have any string that's going, you know, as long as it works and is in tune. So no, I don't. So hopefully that has answered your question. What are the strings that I've got on there at the moment? I can't remember what they were. It was literally just go into a shop and say, give me some strings. Not give me, you know, I pay for them obviously, but I really am not that fussed about strings. Maybe I should be. Maybe it would make my tone and playing a bit better. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Okay, let's go for another question. Oh, here's a good one. It's from Cornelius Herman. I think I've asked this before. Your perspective on the metronome. Petrucci on the one end of the spectrum used it precisely to keep track of his progress in terms of playing speed. Guthrie Govan, on the other hand, never used it for something like that. What was your personal use of the metronome, and would you recommend? Good question. For me personally, no, I never used one. What I did use on occasion, when I was practicing heavily, was a drum machine. In the early formative years though, there was no metronome whatsoever at all, so I didn't practice with a metronome. In fact, I've never practiced with a metronome, and these days it's all drum machine, well, drum software. I use the awesome Stylus RMX from Spectrasonics, so really inspiring stuff. But for me, I think the metronome is fantastic. It's a great tool. Can't imagine why anybody would see it as a detrimental to your playing, you know. For me, it's a little bit clinical. I prefer drum beats, because when you have various different layers, you know, bass drum, hi-hat, snare, those 3 main drums to follow in a drum beat, you know, that influences my playing. So, and it also helps me zone in. You know, when I've got a drum beat and I'm practicing scales and stuff, I don't really want to be thinking about finger movements. Well, you know, I mean, that's not the best advice. I'm talking about for me. You know, obviously you've got to get the finger movements down first, but you know, I've practiced it enough now over the years that I've done that work. But when I'm practicing it to get my technique level up or whatever, it really helps me to focus on something else, you know, and that is very similar to playing with a band. You know, when you play, you've got to be listening to the other instruments. You know, a lot of inexperienced players generally don't do that. They tend to listen to themselves rather than everything that's around them. you know, so that's important. So yeah, for me, Metronome, I think is fantastic for the guys that use it. I've never used one. And as I say, I prefer to use drum patterns and drum beats. I think they're far more inspiring. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, here's a good one. I can find it. I've got a bit of paper in front of me with the names on it, but I've just got to find it. Oh yeah, this is from Roberto Terrao, who's top guy. He's got pretty substantial YouTube channel. He's a Brazilian bass guitar player, really cool guitar player. I'll leave a link in the description box, so you know, check out his channel. And he writes, how do you deal with Facebook and YouTube haters? Have you got any advice? First things first, if you're putting yourself out on the internet, you've got to have a pretty thick skin. Simple as that. You've got to be able to deal with those kind of things. And basically it's going to happen to everyone. It happens to everyone. Doesn't matter you know, how popular you are. It happens to everybody. And it's not pleasant, you know, when you get somebody who's some anonymous guy behind a keyboard, you know, in the security of his own home somewhere. You know, it gives him I like to call cyber balls, you know, because they can do whatever they like and post whatever they like, and you know, they really don't care. So the important thing though is how you react to haters, in my experience. I was watching a really good video of a bodybuilder talking about haters and what he sees from it, and I totally agree with this guy. For me, haters are very weak people. Because it's all based upon somebody presenting something that they've done or achieved or whatever on the internet. And generally there are two types of people. One, people that are inspired by it, or two, people that are affected negatively by it. And usually those are the haters. And the first guys, the guys that are inspired by it, their response is usually to go off and do some, if it's guitar, go off and do some practice and play more, you know. It inspires them to see somebody playing really well or doing whatever it is that they're doing. They get inspired and then they go off, and to me, that's what it's all about. It should be about inspiring other people, you know. That's the most important thing, you know. I deem it as the most important thing, way above anything, way above any kind of financial reward from what you do. That is nothing compared to actually having inspired somebody to improve, you know, not just their playing ability or whatever it is they do, but ultimately their life and the way they affect other people too. So, you know, inspiration, it's a healthy thing, and it's something that should be shared. So the second is haters. They'll look at it and they get jealous, or they just hate. They get pretty negative feelings, and the only way that they can deal with it usually is by posting a comment to bring you down, or to try and bring you down. And that, to me, is a huge weakness in that person. Because for one, if you actually look at it, what are they trying to do? They're trying to bring that person down by the comment that they make, usually to try and make themselves look better, to fill in a hole that they've got within their own thoughts about themselves, you know. And it's kind of very much like looking for approval from other people. So whenever somebody hates on somebody else, it's obvious to me, and it's obvious what kind of person they are. And you know, this kind of thing is not just, sadly, it's not just people that are anonymous guys behind a keyboard. Well, they are, but sometimes these are guys that are actually active. You know, there are some guys that I've seen do it in the guitar community, you know, slating other players just because they're doing well and they don't think they're as talented as them. And it's sad, it really is, you know. For me, I mean, I'm happy for those guys. Talent has nothing to do with it. So just going back to the hater thing, you know, for me, these people are weak because they're actually exposing themselves for what they really are. So the majority of people with some modicum of intelligence will see that anyway. So my advice, I'm slamming on a bit because everybody is affected by this. My advice is to ignore them. Don't even acknowledge it, because within a short space of time you will forget about it and move on, and what they said will be totally irrelevant. It doesn't matter. So for that initial moment of anger and wanting to point out that you're not that kind of person, you're better off just letting it go. So that is my advice. Hopefully, I'm sorry for that being a bit long-winded, but you know, doing what I do, I'm affected by it. You know, I always get comments, but now I get it. You know, I've had it that much and had that much experiences that usually I'm able to deal with it, because I can see that, again, it's haters are weak people. So let's move on. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This was sent to me via message, and actually there was another guy that asked the same question. So this question was asked by Keith. I hope I've got your surname right, Keith. Is it Whalen? And also Will Sholly. Again, apologies if the surname is incorrect. Incidentally, guys, Keith is an amazing player. He posted a video of one of my slick licks, and I watched it and I was like, wow, this guy's incredible. So I've checked out all his other videos, and man, he's a fantastic player. So make sure you check him out, subscribe to his channel as well. Link in description below. So Keith and Will, this is their question. Have you ever hit any plateaus in your musical development? What advice would you impart to those who feel they've reached one? Plateaus, very important. For me, I think it's nature's way of telling you, for one, to just step away and back off a little bit. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do that every single time, but for me, when you try and digest lots and lots of information, whether that's muscle memory information or information up here, you can only process so much at a time. So for me, a plateau is when you hit a brick wall and you know everything's sort of so crammed in there that it's taking longer to go through and be assimilated. So taking breaks, really, really important. It's always worthwhile to have something else other than guitar, so that it's not just the only thing that you do, because you can just move away from it, give it a break, come back to it and see if you've made any improvements. You know, if you've not made any improvements when you've given it a break, you know, go back to it and see, try and use, a lot of it's common sense. Go back to it and see, try and figure out where the problem areas are. You know, playing guitar is about problem solving. That's kind of what I learnt. Back in the early days, I pretty much realized very quickly that I had to be pretty good at solving problems. You know, so that's a huge aspect of making good progress. Dealing with them, some other ways of dealing with them. I mean, I used to practice all the time, and anytime that I hit a plateau, and let's face it, it's normal, everybody hits a plateau, and many of them actually. Anytime that I hit a plateau, I reminded myself that I'm in this for the long term. I'm going to be playing guitar for the rest of my life, and I'm going to be a musician for the rest of my life. So I always exercised patience. You know, that's really, really important. You guys have to be really, really patient as a guitar playing musician. This stuff will come. If you want it badly enough, trust me, it will come. You've just got to be patient. You've got to be consistent as well. You've got to keep working, keep pushing. You know, don't let it get you down. How you react to plateaus is really important as well. You know, try not to let it bring you down. It is frustrating, but you know, try not to let it stop you from practicing. You know, just remember that you have to be patient. These things will come. So take a step back, try that. I mean, for me, it worked whenever I thought, reminded myself that I had to be patient, you know. So any plateaus that I hit was like, no problem. I can deal with it, you know, and that kind of helped me sail through them. So the attitude that you have makes a big difference too. But, you know, be under no misapprehension that you're the only guy that hits plateaus. It happens to everybody, but it's how you deal with it that's the most important thing. So those were some of the ways that I deal with it. Okay, I think that's the end of this Q&A. I've rambled on long enough. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Make sure you leave more questions on my Facebook fan page. If you've not already liked the page, make sure you do. I've left a link in the description box below. Hope that's answered your questions. Look forward to catching up with you guys next time. Take care.